Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Council President Pro Tem Candace Mumm, and we want to welcome you to the City of Spokane briefing session and legislative session for August 23rd and August 30th. And Clerk Pfister, would you please read the roll call?
Council President Biggs.
Present.
Council President Pro Tem Mumm.
Here.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Present.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Present.
Councilmember Stratton.
Present.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Present.
Let the record reflect that Councilmember Burke is absent.
Thank you. And I would like to introduce City Attorney Mike Ormsby, who first is going to brief us on the advanced agenda. And City Attorney Ormsby, could you please begin with our guests here from the airport so they can get on with their busy day on Resolution 2021-72?
Gladly. Good afternoon, Council President Pro Tem Mumm and members of the Council. This is the advanced agenda for next Monday, August 30th. And at the Council President Pro Tem's request, we would move to resolutions and final reading ordinances first. And Resolution 2021 is a joint resolution with the county regarding real estate at Spokane Airport. And I see Larry Crowder and Todd Woodard are here from the airport. And I presume, Mr. Crowder, you're presenting, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Attorney Ormsby, and good afternoon, Council President Pro Tem Mumm and all members of Council. Great to be with you. This is in the matter, as Attorney Ormsby mentioned, in the joint resolution to approve a purchase and sale agreement and a purchase and sale agreement amendment for the sale of land and a right of first refusal to AT Acquisitions, LLC at McFarlane Road. Next slide, please. Thank you. Just to orient Council, Council has previously approved a joint resolution to sell approximately 30 acres of land adjacent to this parcel, and we're referring to that on this slide as McFarlane 1.0. You can see McFarlane 2.0 is outlined in the reddish orange, and it is also a 30-acre parcel adjacent to the McFarlane 1.0 parcel. Next slide, please. For further detail, now we're changing direction on you, so north is going to be to your left, and you can see McFarlane Road to your left as well. There are 3 parcels within this sale, one of which will be acquired, 2 of which will be placed into the right of first refusal category. You can see that the acquisition of 14.686 acres is highlighted as Parcel A, and shown on Parcel A is a warehouse property that, again, is generally oriented perpendicular north-south. Parcels B and C are being placed into the right of first refusal in the PSA amendment at 4.196 acres and 10.27 acres, respectively. Next slide, please. The airport board will retain an access easement to provide access to other sections of airport property that are not currently anticipated in the sale in order for us to have access to what is referred to here as Lot 1. Lot 1 is much bigger, obviously, than just the 10 acres that is in the right of first refusal. And in the event that for some reason the land is not converted to a sale before the right of first refusal has expired, we would obviously want to retain access for future buyers. Next slide, please. So the details of the sale are that we executed this PSA in early January, subject to the board approval and further definition of the land to be acquired, very similar to what we did in what we call McFarlane 1.0. Initially, the PSA included 30 acres of property. And then we went through the FAA land release process, received money in escrow from AT Acquisitions. The agreement requires AT to purchase a minimum of 10 acres, and in this case, they're purchasing roughly about 15. And the right of first refusal payment will be $20,000. They will close on the 14.686/15 acres of the 30-acre area we expect in the month of September. The property value has been appraised for a purchase price of the 14.686 acres of $799,652.70. No broker were involved in the transaction. We will record a navigation easement over the property. And again, closing scheduled not later than October 15th, but we expect that to close sooner than October 15th. Next slide, please. And so the action we're requesting of council is to approve the joint resolution authorizing the purchase and sale agreement and PSA amendment with AT Acquisitions for the sale of 14.686 acres of land in the amount of $799,652.70 and to place another 14.466 acres of land into a right of first refusal for a payment of $20,000. Happy to answer any questions that council may have. And also, I'm sorry, this did go through the Finance and Accounting Committee previously as a consent agenda item. Thank you.
Larry, I had a question I should have asked at Finance, but can you go back to one of the maps and show us if this is all within the city limits and what maybe mention the utilities, where that's coming from, what jurisdiction?
Great question, Councilwoman Mumm. If you remember, the majority, I think if not all, of McFarlane 1.0 was located inside the city of Airway Heights. Municipal boundary. McFarlane 2.0, a very small portion in the upper corner of the property is located within the city of Airway Heights. Thank you, Kelly, for pointing that out, right at the top there. So the majority of the property is inside the city of Spokane city limits. And you can see roughly the property, you can see the sewer and water easement that's kind of crossing from the northeast corner across the top of the property, and that's what defines the boundary between 1.0 and 2.0 at that location. So again, the majority of the property is located inside the city of Spokane, and the major utilities are right there on the property, in the sewer, in the water. Obviously, electric is on McFarlane, and that is in the Avista service area.
So the sewer and water is coming from the city of Spokane in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Larry? Well, Larry, Todd, and Kelly, thank you for being with us at the meeting.
Thank you, Attorney Ormsby, and thank you, members of council. And as I always like to say, we appreciate the teamwork and support that we receive from council. And just a reminder that the proceeds of the sale will be used to fund important capital improvement projects at Spokane airports.
Okay, I'll move back now to regular order and go back to reports, contracts, and claims. And the first item is a recommended contract for paid parking equipment, and Chris Becker is here to brief this item.
Thank you. Good afternoon. This is a contract with McKay Meters for the purchase of single and dual space parking meters for use within the paid parking zone. And this total contract amount is $664,000.
Any questions for Chris? Next, we move into a set of value blanket orders. And Lauren Searle is here from the Water Department to present items 2 and 3. Lauren.
Good afternoon, Council. My first value blanket is a value blanket renewal with Oxark for chlorine liquid gas. This is a renewal, and we're requesting a multi-year renewal on this value blanket. And it's a 5% increase to our current pricing with a annual spend of $80,000 a year. Our next value blanket is with Core and Main. This is the existing value blanket renewal as well for fire hydrant purchases. We are requesting a 3-year renewal on this value blanket with an annual spend of $260,000 a year. And this represents a 12% increase over last year's pricing. Any questions on that one? Our third value blanket is a new quote. It's with Olympic Foundry for the purchase of cast iron ring covers. We're requesting a 5-year value blanket with Olympic Foundry for our ring and cover purchases, estimated at a $50,000 a year spend. Any questions?
Any other questions for Lauren? Great, thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Next, we have the proposed purchase of a system for use at the Upriver Dam, and Seth McIntosh is here to brief this item.
It's dying right now.
Thank you, Attorney Ormsby and Council. This is for the purchase of Upriver Dam spillway gate stop logs. We're seeking approval for the purchase of a stop log system for the Upriver Dam spillway gate from Finot Design, LLC, a Spokane, Washington company, for the purchase price of $159,275 plus sales tax. Invitation for bid RFQ 5474-21 was issued July 1 of 2021. 3 bid responses were received, with Finot Design LLC as the lowest responsive bid. Stop log system is used to dewater the spillway bays to allow for maintenance of the bays and tainter gates. The existing system consists of 13 timber and steel construction stop logs, which exhibit high leakage around the ends and between the units, and 1 lifting beam. New stop logs will be constructed of steel plates, minimizing the number of stop log sections required, and will include rubber sealing surfaces. There will be 10 27-foot stop logs, 2 foot tall, 1 foot wide, and 1 lifting beam, which will include remote operating hooks, reducing or eliminating the need for divers and or city personnel and boats for installation and removal.
Thank you, Seth. Next, we move on to a proposed value blanket for battery systems, and Rick Giddings from Fleet is here to present this item.
Good afternoon, Council. Fleet Services would like to increase our battery systems value blanket VB 301-085-001 by $15,000. This value blanket will renew on September 19th, 2021. We would also like to increase the yearly expenditure of value blanket 301-085 renewals to a yearly $75,000 expenditure.
Thank you, Rick. Next, we have a proposed contract amendment for the intermodal landscaping work on the first SEPTED project. And this has been discussed a great deal, but Jeff Teal is here to present this. And if there's any additional questions, he'll be happy to answer.
Good afternoon, Council. So this is in addition to getting the engineer's report on the SEPTED project that consists of actually doing more dirt excavation, removing 2 trees, lowering a vault, adding a retaining wall and a railing to complete the whole corner cleanup of Brown and Sprague.
Thanks, Jeff. The next two items, Mike Sloan from IT is here to present a contract extension and a contract renewal. Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Ormsby. Good afternoon, City Council. Nice to see you, Mr. Beggs. Number 7 is a contract extension for Asset Works for the annual maintenance support for the Fleet Asset Management System, commonly known as M5. This contract is a renewal. There is an increase, but it's from previous year. But it's a contracted increase. So we're asking your approval for $95,692.17. And then item number 8 is contract renewal. This is one of 2 one-year contracts. We had a 5-year contract. It was a 3-year contract with 2 one-year renewals. This is the first of those one-year renewals for the Master Software Services Agreement with Rubicon Global, LLC. This is for the annual maintenance support for solid waste collections management and the telematics system for solid waste. The contract cost stayed the same except for the 0.01% tax increases. So noted it's a minimal amount. So seeking your approval on that as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Next, we move to a couple of multifamily housing property tax exemption agreements, and Terry Stripes is here to present both of these.
Council President Pro Tem, Council President, thank you for the opportunity. I used to bring these projects forward to you for years, and then you have been working with Allie Brass the last couple of years. You're going to be seeing me again. I believe I am sharing my screen, which you should see the 2nd Avenue apartments. Can somebody give me a thumbs up?
We can't see it yet, Terry.
We can't see it yet. Okay. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So with this project is in the University District as well as the East Central neighborhood. This project will rehab 2 buildings. One of them is a very large, what looks like a single-family residence. It'll become 6 multifamily housing units. The other structure is a small house, and it'll become a single-family housing unit. This project, we've determined, has met the intent as defined in our municipal code because of the location and because of the eligibility of the project. They are intending, once constructed, to rent a minimum of 20% of the units as affordable per our code to those who are income qualified as low to moderate income households. So that household can earn no more than 115% of area median income to stay within qualifications. Once they have completed their construction, this contract will move into what is called a final certificate of exemption that will be filed with the Spokane County Assessor's Office, and the exemption will begin at that time. Let's see if we can move on. I will hold for questions at this point. I'm sorry. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the other project. This is a project that you should be very familiar with, the Falls Project. This project you actually heard back in November of 2019 at PIES, and it was to come forward in early 2020 as with the conditional contract for your approval at council. Interrupted COVID and some staff changes with LB Stone and some of ours. And then when we were transferring the management of the day-to-day records from Allie Brass to myself, it was discovered that we were missing this conditional contract. So I'm bringing it back to you. I also had this on your consent agenda back a week ago at Urban Experience. This project also meets the intent as defined in our municipal code for multifamily tax exemption, and it is located in one of the previously approved target areas. This project will likely construct between 3 towers, 372 units at 829 West Broadway. The property is zoned downtown general commercial, and its proposed use is allowed. It is located in the Riverside neighborhood. Do we have any questions about this project as it moves forward?
Terry, I do. Lori Kinnear.
Hi, Lori.
Hi. Are any of these units, are they all going to be apartments? Are any of them going to be
like condos?
Yes.
At this time, it's my understanding that everything in the Second Avenue project is going to be rental. But I know the Falls is still working on trying to figure out if it's going to be a mix, because it's also a mixed-use building. They're not certain if it's going to be a mix of condos and rentals or if it's going to be all rental. But this, as you know, is a very large project that's likely to be phased over multiple years, so I'm certain that they'll respond to whatever the market is telling them is going to be the best.
And so, given that information, we don't know right now, but if it's mixed, so if it's condos, apartments, mixed-use apartments, whatever it is, does all of that get that MFTE? How does that work?
It does in a different way. So let's take the M building as an example. Okay, so the M building, it finalized with some condos. Each condo has its own parcel number and its own taxpayer. So that the benefit goes to the taxpayer, not necessarily the developer. So then the condo owner gets the benefit from multifamily tax exemption. The apartments would then likely finalize under a different parcel number as a batch, and that parcel number would receive multifamily tax exemption. Then the commercial side of the project receives no tax exemption. Does that answer that question?
Perfectly, thank you.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Terry. Next, we have a proposed contract extension for testing at the waste energy plant, and David Payne is here to present this item.
Thank you, Mr. Ormsby. Good afternoon, Council President, Pro Tem, Council President, and Council members. This is an extension, the last extension on a 3-year contract with 5-star testing for ultrasonic thickness testing of tubes within the boiler house for the plant. It runs from October 30th, 2021 to October 29th, 2022, and it has a value of $130,000, including taxes.
Thanks, David. Next, we have 2 agreements relating to sewer service and sewer regulatory pretreatment, and Raylene Jeanette is here to present both of these items. Raylene?
Thank you. The first one is to amend the interlocal agreement between the City of Spokane and Airway Heights to provide sewer service for Exotic Metals, which is located in Airway Heights sewer service area. This was discussed at PIES on June 28th of this year, and Airway Heights Council did approve this on August 2nd of this year. Is there any questions on that one?
I have a question, Raylene. Hi, thanks.
Okay, hi.
I was just wondering what the agreement is for compensating the city for using the sewer service. Would it just be are we considering revenue sharing for this, or are we just sending a regular sewer bill to them for this?
They are paying a sewer bill to us. This is an agreement, though, so that we accept the industrial business, which is a SIU, a significant industrial user. And it was an agreement made back in 2014 that required us to also go back if there was an expansion or anything like that, which is what this is. They're having an expansion on their facility. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. I'm just curious because there's been some discussion about whether we should continue to expand our industrial waste collection without maybe, I don't know if there's excess costs to the city in order to do that. I know there's a pre-treatment requirement in there. But I feel like we want to make sure that the city is fully compensated if we have this kind of industrial waste that we're accepting without getting any tax revenue. So I see Marlene here too.
We are being compensated as far as the billing on that. They are paying for all of their testing and that kind of stuff, and they are getting billed.
Thank you.
So we're getting And then, is there any other questions on that agreement?
Raylene, this is a question for you or Marlene. Just wondering, if the city turns this down, what happens then? What would the result be?
Well, currently, the city of Airway Heights doesn't have facilities to serve this location. So we've been serving Exotic Metals for a number of years, as Raylene said, through an interlocal agreement with Airway Heights because it's within their sewer service area. So this agreement allows us to continue to serve Exotic Metals and also to take waste from their expansion. So they have added a second building there. So we are expanding our services to them, and we are fully compensated, Councilmember Mumm, as per our ordinances, as if this customer were located, regardless of its location. So we are getting the costs recouped for providing them with this level of service. So if we were to turn it down, Councilmember Cacker, Exotic Metals at this point doesn't have an option for their wastewater treatment.
So is there a potential environmental impact that would result if we turn this down, or would it simply potentially shut them down or prevent them from expanding?
It would basically shut them down, and they wouldn't be able to use their new facility. And so the companion piece that Raylene is just going to brief is also the multi-jurisdictional agreement around pretreatment. So we also have to work in concert with the city of Airway Heights on pretreatment to make sure that they're meeting all of the state and federal regulations that go with pretreatment. So those are two companion pieces. We have talked to Airway Heights about when they plan to be able to serve Exotic Metals and a couple of other parcels that are located adjacent to them, and that we do not have a final date from them at this point.
Councilmember Pro Tem.
Yes, go ahead. I don't think Mr. Ormsby sees you. Councilmember Kinnear, please go.
Okay. Good. And I don't feel like the question, well, another question too. I don't know what Exotic Metals does. I don't know what they're producing that would need pretreatment. That would be the first thing. The second thing would be, you said that they were fully compensated. I guess I'm concerned because at what point are we using our capacity to serve municipalities or jurisdictions outside our jurisdiction that would restrict our ability to use our facility, if that makes any sense, down the road, not right now.
Sure. As part of, it does. And as part of these agreements, we do have a requirement that Airway Heights actually will put in a permanent block for us, because they used to send us significantly more wastewater. We had an agreement of up to, 2 million gallons a day, Raylene, to serve from Airway Heights, which that agreement has expired. So right now, all we have is a handful of properties, I think 5 properties that we're accepting waste from. And we have a requirement that Airway Heights block the main line between the two cities. So we're just accepting from this little spot where they do not have wastewater services at this time. And Exotic Metals has been using us as their wastewater provider since 2014.
I guess the other side of this is our level of treatment is probably much more sufficient than anything else in our region. So dumping stuff in the river from our wastewater treatment plant is going to be a lot healthier for the environment than, say, Airway Heights or Medical Lake or whatever. And I'm spitballing on this, but that is my guess, because we are doing our part to clean up the river.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we have different treatment systems than the city of Airway Heights. I'm no engineer to be able to give you those exact details, but I can tell you that we have some of the most advanced treatment in the nation with the addition of next level of treatment. So we're feeling very good about the quality of the water that we're releasing since we've added next level of treatment and even before.
This is Council President, and I might be anticipating Raylene's next presentation, but my question is, if they violate the pre-treatment standards agreement, what kind of remedies do we have to hold them financially responsible so that we're whole?
That goes back to the federal Clean Water Act and those as well that pre-treatment is based on. They're tested. I think they're quarterly tested. They run tests internally all the time. We actually go out and visit the site, and the products that they're doing is like maybe chroming and that kind of stuff, which throws them into this category here for treatment. And they're under this so that they're actually being not allowed to put X amount of hazards or any hazards into it. So that's where that pre-treatment comes in. It's not like just domestic waste. This is because of their manufacturing that they're doing. The pHs have to be right. They can't have metals. They can't have those different things. And so we're actually testing to make sure that they're meeting all those requirements so that we're not having to treat that stuff.
I think that's it for questions on that one, but do you want to go ahead to 12, Mr. Ormsby?
Certainly. Raylene, you're on for item number 12, the multi-jurisdictional agreement.
So
and
this
is
a
kind of reference.
Yes, and this is a multi-jurisdictional with Airway Heights to regulate that pre-treatment requirements for wastewater between the two municipalities. There are some areas in Airway Heights that is our service area, but those residents or those businesses could be located within the city of Airway Heights. So that kind of gives us the interlocal between them. We have one with the county in the same manner as that. So this is just an interlocal agreement between the two for those pre-treatment regulatory requirements. And again, this was also presented at PIES, and Airway Heights Council approved this on August 2nd. Any questions there? Thank you.
Thanks, Raylene. Next, we move on to a proposed amendment to the agreement with Truth Ministries for Men's Emergency Shelter, and Margaret Henson is here to present this item.
Hello. Yes, on behalf of CHHS, I am requesting permission to amend that contract with Truth Ministries to provide 40 low-barrier men's beds. This amendment would extend the contract through June 30th, 2022, lining it up with the other COVID contracts we have. And it would add, we would be adding $453,277, which would be a mix of the CDBG COVID funds and city general funds.
Any questions for Council President?
Yeah, Margaret, thanks so much for bringing this forward. I'm curious, what the utilization of those beds has been. It's a little farther away from other places, so transportation is an issue, and they don't do 24/7 because of their model of how they operate. So I'm just wondering, do we think we're going to use those 40 beds? And if not, what are our strategies for getting people transported out there so that they're used?
I'd love to follow up with you with more real numbers there. I don't have them on hand. My understanding is that they've been utilized regularly, and but I don't have the exact numbers right now, so I'd love to follow up with you on that. And I can't speak to the transportation strategy at this time either. And if anybody else from my team is on the call, I would defer to them. But I'd love to get back to you.
Yeah, you totally can. We've got a whole week, so that's totally great. I appreciate
that.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, Councilman Cathcart.
Just wondering how we landed on 40 additional beds as the number. Is that backed up in the data?
Yes, it is. I think it. Yes. Can I follow up on you with that?
Yeah, no problem.
And Councilmember Cathcart, that might be capacity for Truth Ministries, but she can give us more info on that.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a proposed memorandum of understanding between ONS and the Community Assembly, and Carly Courtwright is here to present this item.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks. Good afternoon, Council. This is the MOU regarding expectations of ONS staff and services that they will provide to Community Assembly and their committees. This was briefed back at the July Urban Experience, and really just it was a very good cooperative effort between both groups in making sure that we're meeting each other's expectations. It's codified in the municipal code that it needs to be approved by City Council, and so we're bringing it forth to do just that. I see Councilwoman Kinnear, and then I think Council President Beck.
Thanks, Carly. Thanks for doing this. I have concerns. I read the MOU. It sounds like it's going to take most of the staff of one FTE to do, like they're going to have their own FTE. When I was reading this, I went, oh my dear, this is a lot of work. There are a lot of members of CA, and my experience is they have a lot of requests and need a lot of things. So what's your take on that? Are we going to need to hire another person?
Hopefully with having these expectations that we are going to sort of limit, again, what we should be doing. Like one of the things that's really clarified in this is that they will be taking their own minutes, but that the only thing that ONS will be providing is the minutes of the CA meeting itself. So all their committee meetings is the responsibility of their chairs. Same thing with them setting up the meetings. So it shouldn't be, I would guess it's actually closer to maybe half an FTE. We do spread it out over the 3 CPCs in terms of the work that they do. But, you know, that was a sense of frustration on staff is sort of and it depends by the committee what that expectation is. One member is fairly self-sufficient, another one might be a little bit more demanding. And so that hopefully what we tried to clarify here is kind of what that line in the sand is of you're an independent body and you should be doing most of these things yourself, where city staff will help you is with city items that, you know, like in terms of distributing. We have the email list, we have the technology to be able to do that. And so that was a compromise that we could make. We can go back and revisit it. That was another clarification within that MOU is if either party feels like this is no longer working, we can bring it back. My hope is that it's going to make a better working relationship between the two and that we will limit sort of some of these nebulous, this is an expectation that you should do this because the city charter and municipal code are kind of vague on Office of Neighborhood Services and what that level of support they should be providing is. So I can't fully answer your question. I'm hopeful that it's going to limit it and that we'll be able to, I wouldn't say push back, but more establish parameters in terms of how we can support them and when they really need to be doing this work on their own.
And so thank you for that. If I could do a follow-up question here. I'm also concerned that staff is respected and by the CA, and they should not have to put up with any kind of abuse, bullying, whatever it is that I've witnessed when I've attended some of the meetings. So I want to make sure that there are expectations in that regard as well.
Thank you, Council Member. I really appreciate that. That's an expectation I have. My staff all know that we won't tolerate that behavior. If they are disrespected, that I will ask that to stop, and we will leave the meeting if necessary. It has gotten quite a bit better. We do still have some challenges, especially in terms of it within the chat, more than verbal harassment that used to be in place. But things have, I do believe, have improved over recent months.
I think I was next. So I just wanted to affirm, I think this is a great idea to have it written out and have the clear expectations. I'm hoping that we'll do the same for the relation between ONS and neighborhood councils individually. And I think you're going to come in October to talk to council at a study session or something about that. But I just think if we need to do, that's the next step too, is that we have a uniform expectation. Different neighborhood councils meet more frequently than others, so there's some differences there. But I'd really like to get those expectations ironed out as well. So thanks for going down this road.
Thank you, sir. I think I saw Councilmember Wilkerson and Councilmember Mum.
Well, thank you, Carly. I was Council President Biggs was going on the same road I was with Office of Neighborhood Services and expectations as the next opportunity, but just realizing that the abilities and the inequities in those neighborhoods are so different and challenging that I just want us to be cautious as we're rebuilding them under your leadership and those expectations. So I look forward to those conversations.
Thank you. I will have an update for you at a study session this week, as well as in October, regarding kind of neighborhood councils, as well as what we're doing with the Gonzaga needs assessment and how that will help.
Carly, my question is, do you think that this document makes it clear that the CA member serves at the pleasure of their neighborhood council as an appointee and should reflect the neighborhood council's wishes? I know there's been some disconnect there, and I think it's important to explain that. I don't know if you need to add it to the MOU, but I just wanted to put that out there.
I appreciate that. We're in agreement. I don't think that's very clear, and that's a challenge that we're trying to kind of work through the community assembly itself. One example of that recently has been the neighborhood cleanups, where we had some of the CA reps volunteering that their neighborhood could share with another, and we really had to kind of step back and say, no, it's your job to go back to your neighborhood council and suggest that that's what we're asking for. You don't get to decide on the spot. So definitely doing some retraining. To answer your question, no, I don't think it's clear in the MOU. We could go back and try to add that. I'll be honest, it's sort of baby steps of trying to get that acceptance, and the members of the ad hoc committee that worked on this might feel differently about that interpretation. So that would be some delicate area that I'm not sure we'd have a lot of movement on.
Well, I believe it's in the bylaws, so it may not be clear in every neighborhood bylaws, but my understanding at the formation of CA so many decades ago, that was the purpose. And the meetings that I've attended, there is a vote or a nomination that's made by the body. It's a very important position. Our neighborhoods are so important to the health of our community, and those CA reps and who they are critical to tell us what is happening at the neighborhood level and for all the neighborhoods to coordinate together. So I think the fidelity of that position is critical to the success of both CA and ONS. So I don't know how other people feel about that, but I have seen issues where a CA rep didn't understand that and thought it was their own personal feelings about things and put in their own traffic calming apps and all kinds of stuff. And we just want to make it really clear they represent their neighborhood.
I think that's one of the things that I'm working on with staff, is doing sort of an audit of the bylaws that you mentioned, and we'll be kind of trying to hold some of the neighborhood councils accountable for that and following their bylaws. Some of them do have verbiage that you should only hold a position for 2 years, And we don't see that. Some of that is the challenges that we've seen from the needs assessment that we just completed is that no one else steps up. So they might be in contradiction to their bylaws, but they don't have anyone else to replace them, and so it sort of becomes a challenge. I think to your point, I've been attending CA meetings now regularly for over a year. We have a couple new faces that joined us last month, but in general, CA reps tend to be repeated, selected, and so they do get a little bit entrenched in that perspective. And I think, again, this was all part of kind of I wouldn't say a reboot, but re-examining what we're trying to do and get more engagement, get more people involved, and strengthen those relationships. So we're supporting them as ONS is trying to help them be independently, but get the support that they need and getting answers from city staff to solve their problems.
Council President, I think, had a question.
Yep. Well, I was just going to, it was a comment in response to Councilmember Mom. I guess my preference is that since this has all been negotiated out with the CA and the administration, that we just pass it, knowing that we can go back to it after that kind of review. But I think we should just get it in place, and then any of those issues we could revisit. So, just my opinion.
Councilman Cathcart indicated he had a question or comment.
Yeah, I was just gonna comment that I think in a lot of ways, kind of the conduct of community assembly members is sort of, their neighborhood needs to be accountable for that, and it's really them that needs to decide if that's the sort of person or ideas that they want representing them. But I do think we should have something in place where if firm decisions are being made, that we're requiring the signature of a chair, or there is something where it's firm that, hey, this is the decision of the neighborhood and not one individual. If the city is going to react and do something as a result of that. But ultimately, I think it's the neighborhoods that have to hold their community assembly reps accountable for their individual conduct.
Agreed.
I just want to say our community assembly reps are amazing. I don't want people to get the impression that they aren't fabulous volunteers, and same with our chairs of our neighborhoods, because, overall, they do so much incredible work for free for us, and we really depend on them. So I just want to thank them and let them know we're just trying to make it easier for everyone else so there's no disputes and make it clear. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this topic?
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Carly. I'll move on to the next item, which is a proposed contract amendment with Volt Workforce Solutions to assist the project management office, and Dusty Fredrickson is here. And I think this item has been talked about at least one committee, but Dusty's here to answer any questions or concerns that anyone might have.
Council President?
Yeah, Dusty, and I may or may not have been at the committee meeting because I've not been at everything. I'm just wondering, how long do we think we need this, whether we should be contracting it or hiring an actual position? You might have explained this to people before, so.
We didn't get that far into it, but it's a great question. So this $125,000 adding to the Volt contract is to bring in some additional project management and continuous improvement support. The details of that are outlined in the special budget ordinance, but we are looking to augment the team. We're at an overcapacity, and we do have a senior project manager position open, and we do have a continuous improvement analyst position open. So we are actively working with civil service to fill those positions, which would hopefully take away the need for us to continue to augment using vendor resources. So we've been pursuing that, and we are actively pursuing that. Any other questions on the contract amendment? Mike, I don't know if I should just talk about the budget ordinance or if we want to close this part out of the agenda.
Dusty, since you're here, why don't you do that, and then we'll have that covered later.
Yeah, so that $125,000 is comprised of $79,000 for salary savings that we want to convert to our contract services to bring in a project manager for the balance of this year. We have several initiatives going on. The FTE senior folks need to focus on the bigger initiatives, and we need another set of hands to help us take care of some of the smaller things we have going on. So it really is a staff aug situation. On the other side of that, we have $46,000 coming out of the salary savings in 2021 from continuous improvement to bring in an additional analyst to help Erica Jacobo out with doing the payment collection and processing discovery. It's a huge current state mapping of all of our payment collection and processing, our whole solution. And so that would be a 3-month engagement. So that would account for both of those resources wrapping up by the end of the year.
Thanks, Dusty. Any other questions for Dusty on either the SBO or this contract amendment? Okay, then I'll move to the final 2 items on the consent agenda for next week. The first is the report of the mayor on pending claims and payments, and also payroll claims, and those blank spaces will be filled in before the meeting next week. And then finally, we have a placeholder for city council meeting minutes, and that too will be completed prior to next week's meeting. Then we go to the legislative agenda, and we have, as you can see, a number of special budget ordinances. The first one is the proposed transfer for that Dusty just briefed us on. The second one is for the programming that Margaret briefed us on earlier, and I think Margaret is still here if anyone had any particular questions about the SBO. Okay, not seeing any. I'll move on to the next one, and it's a number of, it relates to increased or transfers and increased expenditures relating to the criminal justice related legislation. And Paul and Josie, is our budget officer, is here to brief this item.
Thank you, Mike, and good afternoon, City Council. As Mike mentioned, this is an SBO to book the revenue and appropriate the expenditures for approximately $890,000. We received from the state, as part of the state operating budget, $20 million was set aside for cities for one-time assistance with law enforcement and criminal justice related legislation enacted between January 1st, 2020 and June 30th, 2021. And this was presented last Monday at the Finance Administration Committee. Happy to take any questions.
Councilwoman Kinnear.
Thanks. And I don't know if this is the right time to do this, but I really think we need to have a study session and a discussion on this, much more in depth than we had at Finance. And I would like to defer it to September 27th until we can have that discussion. And Council President Pro Tem, how would you like me to do it next week, or do you want to do it now?
I believe you just made the motion, or we could accept that as a motion.
I second it.
Council President seconds the motion to defer Ordinance C 36098 to September 27th. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Cathcart.
Just wondering, and maybe Mike knows or anybody else, is there anything timely about this request that they would need it before that date?
I don't know. Paul may know, and I don't think anyone from police is on. So that might be something we have to check, because I can't say.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. I believe we have the funds already from the state. We just needed a place to put it as well.
So we can put it on in discussion with Hannah Lee, the first available committee meeting or study session in order to discuss.
Well, Councilmember Mom, I think from what I'm gathering, we're going to need more than 15 minutes discussion. So if we do put it on a committee meeting, it's going to need a half hour.
All right, we'll work with staff to try to find the first available time for that to work. Any other comments or questions? All in favor of deferring, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Okay.
Back to you, Mr. Ormsby.
Thank you. The next item relates to an issue that was discussed earlier too, in an earlier meeting as well, increasing an appropriation for the warming, cooling, and safe air centers. And Jake Miller is here to present this item.
Thank you, Mike. Good afternoon, Council. So this SBO will appropriate $150,000 from the general fund for the operation of the cooling centers and safe air centers as we move into fire season. Hopefully we won't need that, but yeah, it's simply for that with the increased heat and then the adjustment to the SMC guidelines for when those are activated. Yep, I can answer your question, Councilwoman.
Thank you. And maybe we can do this later, but I think we also need to include other emergencies such as windstorms, ice storms, whatever, where people who are housed need to get to a place that's either warm or where they need to charge their devices. And so I guess this covers it, but I'm not sure. I would like to see if we could make some provision, or does anybody else have any ideas on this? Because I'm kind of struggling here. It doesn't go far enough for me.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Well, I guess I'm just wondering, was that included in the resolution that was approved a couple weeks ago on cooling centers? Did we, I'm just trying to remember, was there language in there about windstorms and ice storms and that sort of thing?
I don't believe so.
I don't
know
so either.
Weather and air.
Yeah, I think it was more related to what we were probably experiencing at the time. I mean, I think it's a legitimate issue. I think we're trying to get the money in place now because some of these expenses have already been incurred.
Yeah, I think it's two different actions, Council President.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we're probably going to need to revise the clean air thing anyway to make it match with pools. You know, we shut down pools at 150 right now. We only do clean air at 250, and that's super unhealthy. So I think when we relook at that at the end of the season, we could add in language like you were talking about, Councilmember Kinnear, to just make it a little broader, as people have the expectation that the city is going to have a place for them to escape to if their house loses power for a week. So, but I think I agree with Councilmember Cathcart that it's not currently in the scope. So we'll just have to get to that, and it'll probably take more money to do. So
I'm fine with that. I just wanted to put it out there in case anybody else had any bright ideas. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Jay?
I will say that kudos to Avista, because in the windstorms, they have picked up a lot of that slack. But the city certainly can play its part when we redo this.
Next, I'll move on to a number of provisions relating to the Asset Management Capital Fund, and Michelle Hughes, our accounting director, is here to brief this item.
Thanks, Mike. Good afternoon, Council. This is just an SBO bringing forth an action. 5-year increments beginning in 2014 to 2018 as phase 1, which has been completed. And then phase 2 was based on the last resolution adopted in 2019-034, authorizing STIP loans totaling a little bit over $18 million for the years of 2019 through 2023. To date, the city has issued about $8.4 million of the $18 million, and of those amounts in STIP loans. However, in August of 2020, the City Council expressed a desire to discontinue the STIP loan program and move to a cash-based model. Without the STIP loan in 2021, an available alternative which left some capital and police fire unfunded. So an available alternative is to utilize the amounts of prior year's unspent funding of about $3.4 million. The allocation of this funding between police and fire is based on the proportionate share of the total capital equipment that calculates to be about 1.7 per agency. The unfunded portion of their respective plans will be deferred, updated, and added to future equipment replacement plans for funding considerations. Do you have any questions?
Council President?
Yeah, and maybe it's in the packet, and I'm just, I haven't looked at it yet, but has it come to council what specific things? There's so many different capital potential expenses that could be funded, and I just don't feel like council has been briefed, like, what are the options that we could spend, and council choosing those options instead of just being told, hey, we're going to spend it. So I don't think we've done that process yet.
I believe everything that they're trying to finish out this year was in the capital plan. And it is spelled out in the packet that was provided to you for what was police versus technical equipment, tactical and office equipment, and vehicles for the police department and fire department.
I guess there's things in the capital plan that there's choices being made because there's more in the capital plan. So correct. I think council needs to spend some time making sure we agree with the priorities of the department. So that's just my comment. But I see Councilmember Kinnear has a.
Well, I'm talking again. So has this been to committee?
Yes, this was on Finance Committee last Monday.
Okay. So I guess, I'm conflicted. I would like to see this money be used to pay off the SIP loan. And we have agreed as a council that capital would be come from the 1%, the 1% property tax. So I'm not sure. I'm going to have to dig in too. I'm not sure I can support this. It seems like we should be paying off our loans right now.
So just to make a little bit of clarification, so we put in $5.8 million every year to go towards debt service. And the debt service comes in under that $5.8 million. This 3.4 is a gap that has been built up over the last 5-6 years. That is there for debt service and capital needs, which was trying to move us to the cash basis of funding our capital. So as the debt got paid off, that gap was going to be bigger to help become a cash basis capital. And because there was no SIP loans allowed and authorized in 2020 or in 2021, which left the capital plan unfunded, we are just proposing to use this excess money that is for debt service and capital needs to help them get through this 2021 year.
Thank you.
So I see a couple more council members.
Councilwoman Wilkerson.
Oh, thank you. So I sponsored this, but after it was briefed at Finance, there were a lot more questions that started to bubble up as to where this was going to go and what the input was into these decisions. So I am moving to defer this until September 27th so we can have more clarity and bring it to a study session as to what Council President said, the priorities, are they in alignment with what we were thinking, and what input do we have on that?
Is there a second?
Second.
Council President's a second. More discussion.
I was just going to say for clarity, what I'm looking for is the list of things that police and fire want to fund that are in the capital plan, and the list of things in their capital plan that they're not choosing to fund at this time, so that we can look at both of those and have some input. And then the other thing I just wanted to note is that for the first time, we didn't fully fund the match from general fund to add to this overall fund. And I hope we get back to doing that in 2022.
My comment is that I think we need to look at meeting our debt service goals as well. And maybe there's a way to do that instead of spending it all on capital at once, back to that priority. But I want to hear about that. So we'll try to get this again on the next available study session, or perhaps to your Public Safety Committee, Councilmember Kinnear. All right. Any more questions on the discussion of the deferral? All in favor of the deferral, say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed? 6-0. That item is deferred. Back to you, Councilmember Ormsby. Councilmember Ormsby. City Attorney Ormsby.
You're elevating me.
I don't know.
Next, we have the next two ordinances relate to the Asset Management Fund, and Jeff Teal the director is here, and so Jeff, if you could brief the next two ordinances, please.
You bet. Good afternoon. So this is a ask for permission to receive $108,000 out of revenue to put back into my operating budget. This was from a large project at the water department, and it was the water department then paid that went to my revenue account, and also we had emergency repair for the HVAC controls at the intermodal that I wasn't funded for, and so I'm asking permission to receive those funds back into my operating budget to continue to give maintenance to facilities.
Any questions on that ordinance? Council President Pro Tem, do you have a question? Okay. I just saw your blue box come on. Next, Jeff, why don't you cover the next ordinance?
Sure. So the other one is that facilities has not had any administrative support, and we're looking at bringing in a computerized maintenance management system to start building a maintenance system for the city of Spokane. This position will be funded from salary savings. The salary savings was partially the director of facilities, my position not being filled, and custodial positions since the COVID, not knowing when City Hall was going to reopen. And I'm asking for that support for our department.
Councilwoman Wilkerson?
Jeff, would you just remind us again the amount of buildings that should be overseen by your department going forward? I was surprised.
Almost 1.6 million square feet of building space. I couldn't tell you the exact number of all those buildings, but I do have a spreadsheet that when I first got here, we didn't have that. So I had somebody help me build the spreadsheet to get the square footages. So it's almost 1.6 million, but that does not include fire, police, fire and libraries and parks. Because I'm still learning the system here in the city.
Thank you. I just want people to know the scope of why you need this additional help.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, next I'll move into the resolutions and final reading ordinances. The first resolution is one that was deferred from consideration today till next week, and I think I got a notice today that the meeting that was requested has been set up, I think, tomorrow, so hopefully we'll be able to provide information at that time, and if we need to have further discussion at the meeting next week, we can certainly do that. And I don't know, does anyone have any questions now? Council President?
Yeah, I don't have a question about it. I support it in general, but I did circulate this afternoon a substitute resolution that included language that there needs to be a requirement for a good neighbor agreement that conditioned the money on it, either with the neighborhood council or with the city. That's not defined what the agreement is, but that just needs to be a part of it. So I have a motion to substitute the version that I circulated this afternoon.
Would you,
I need a
Council
second.
President, would you
I need a
send me a
second.
copy of that?
I need a second, please.
Second.
Yes, I will send that to you.
Council discussion, Council Member Stratton.
I'm confused. What was the meeting that was going to be set up tomorrow to talk about this?
The chair and vice chair of the Finance and Administration Committee had some questions that they wanted to talk with us about, and so the meeting has been set up to do that.
Oh, okay. Thanks. And it's nothing to do with inviting any of the folks in that neighborhood, that specific neighborhood. You don't.
Oh no, I think it was. I'm not exactly sure because I know some of the questions just related to the financial commitment and ability for the city to make this commitment over the 5 years. and where the money is coming from.
Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Stratton, would you like to join in? We have space for one more council member. My questions were about the finances, but would you like to join in?
Join into the meeting tomorrow? If I can,
okay.
If somebody wants to send me information.
We'll loop it in.
And I say that just because we've had a lot of feedback from the residents in that neighborhood and from the businesses. So I think it's important that people hear that.
So Council President has a good draft that he's substituting here. And so any other questions about that, or we will take a vote? All in favor of this, accepting the substitution, say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you.
Okay. The next resolution is approving 3 appointments, and I believe this was discussed at the committee meeting last week. And Megan Olson, the acting Human Resources Director, is here to present this item.
Thank you, Mike. Good afternoon, council members. I am bringing forward the 3 exempt hires for council approval. The first is Kyle Tuig to the position of Engineering Services Director. This is a reclassification of Kyle's current position. He's currently appointed and confirmed to the Engineering Operations Manager position. The second is the appointment of Stephen McDonald to the Community and Economic Development Director. And a brief update on the status of the Civil Rights Coordinator position, which has been inquired about. There has been a candidate selected in that hiring process, and an offer has been extended, and they're currently discussing salary at this moment. So I would anticipate we'll have an answer this week on whether that candidate accepts the offer. And the third appointment is Chris Averett, and his appointment is to the Solid Waste Disposal Director position.
So Megan, I'll just say that we are very excited that that position is being offered and can't wait to hear the news. And I have heard that we hope that's done by Monday. Do you think that will be?
I believe it will be.
Okay, then that'll help us decide how to go forward. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Megan. Next is the resolution that we've already dealt with involving the airport property. And so the final proposed resolution is one to suggest replacement of existing parking meters under certain conditions. And Shauna Harshman from the council office is here to brief this item.
Actually, Mike, that's fine.
Thank you, Council President.
Yeah. And we fully discussed this at committee today, so I don't think we need to do any more on that. Thanks.
Okay, great. Then we'll move on finally to first reading ordinances, and our city clerk, Terry Pfister, is briefing that proposed ordinance.
Yes. Ordinance C 36103 amends Spokane Municipal Code section 1.01.040 to allow the city clerk the authority to amend the titles of city departments referenced in the Spokane Municipal Code anytime amendments to the executive and administrative organization under chapter 3.01A SMC are made. For example, ordinance C 35992 amending Spokane Municipal Code chapter 3.01A updated the titles of various departments. This ordinance was passed by City Council last August. Asset Management Group was updated to Facilities Management Department. Grants Management and Financial Assistance was updated to Grants, Contracts, and Purchasing Department, and Planning Services was updated to Planning and Economic Development Services. However, the old titles still appear throughout the code. SMC section 12.10.020, as an example, it refers to the Asset Management Department. Similarly, SMC 9.01.010 refers to Grants Management and Financial Assistance. This proposed ordinance would allow the city clerk's office to update these sections of the code to match the executive and administrative organization changes to the titles of city departments under chapter 3.01A of the Spokane Municipal Code. Are there any questions?
Seeing no questions, that would complete the advanced agenda briefing for next week.
Is there a motion to approve the advanced agenda for August 30th?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you. That was a long one. Thank you. Next, we will now move to our current City Council legislative agenda. And we'll start with consent.
Reports, contracts, and claims. Number 1, value blanket with Galls LLC for ballistic body armor for the Spokane Police Department utilizing Washington State Contract Number 03720, $210,000. Number 2, contract with Spokane County Sheriff's Office to receive funding from Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs for the Registered Sex Offender Address and Residency Verification Program, $60,000. Number 3, purchase of property casualty and cyber insurance from Willis of Seattle for the city for the period of September 1, 2021 to August 31, 2022, $3,668,179. Number 4, low bid of Inland Asphalt Company for 2021 arterial grind and overlay project, $937,199.10, an administrative reserve of $93,719.91, which is 10% of the contract price will be set aside, various neighborhoods. Number 5, report of the mayor of pending claims and payments of previously approved obligations, including those of Parks and Library through August 13, 2021. Total $10,146,402.21 with Parks and Library claims approved by the respective boards. Warrants excluding Parks and Library total $9,790,478.37. Number 6, City Council meeting minutes for August 2nd, 2021.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Consent passes 6-0. And next up, we have a very short legislative agenda, which is why we consolidated today. First item is a special budget ordinance.
Ordinance C 36095, amending ordinance number C 35971, passed by the City Council December 14, 2020, and entitled, an ordinance adopting the annual budget of the City of Spokane for 2021, making appropriations to the various funds of the City of Spokane government for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2021, and providing it shall take effect immediately upon passage, and declared an emergency and appropriating funds in Development Services Center Fund from unappropriated reserves, $64,840 to various accounts, same amount. This action creates 2 new planning specialist positions to support permitting.
We have no public comment. Are there any questions, or does the council sponsor want to speak to this? Councilmember Kinnear.
I think it's self-explanatory that we really need to up our game with permitting. We're doing really well. This will enhance that department and get us, I think, to where we need to be to speed things along.
Council President.
And I was just going to add this pays for itself because it's paid out of permit fees, and also to mention to anyone who's watching that our permit applications for both single-family homes and multifamily are up quite a bit this year, and there's plenty in process. This will do that. So the market is responding to the need, and we just need to facilitate those permits getting finalized. So I think this is great, and I commend the administration and Chris Becker for her work on this.
All right, ready for the votes? Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Councilmember Beggs.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
Council President Pro Tem is an aye. Next item is a resolution.
Resolution 2021-70, declaring Pomegranate Associates the sole source provider for staff and resident facilitation and engagement training for the new traffic calming program, and approving a contract with Pomegranate Associates reflecting those services.
And council member, who was the council member that was the sponsor? Was that you, Councilmember Stratton? Don't have the sponsor down. A council president.
Yeah, I am so excited about this. We are changing up our traffic calming, and instead of telling neighborhoods to give us 2 projects a year, we're going to find out from them what all the projects they need. And we're going to utilize Pomegranate to help us train city staff and community members to facilitate those meetings. We've used Pomegranate before. They have a really unique method of bringing consensus to a room instead of just the loudest voices or the most frequent voices. And so this is going to help us through that process that we're hoping to start this fall. And at the end of it, each neighborhood will have a punch list of whatever projects they need. And then as we have funding each year, we'll go through that punch list. So super excited to work with them and to really take this next evolutionary step for traffic calming that's really going to meet the needs of neighborhoods and encourage neighborhood councils to actually even work together on joint projects.
Anyone else? I'll make a comment. Excited to support this. Our neighborhoods have been waiting for many, many months to spend their traffic calming dollars, and I'm excited for them to have the support that they deserve in order to do that. Some of this concept was modeled after a pilot program that was done by the 5 Mile neighborhood, which spent all of their planning dollars on doing a traffic calming assessment for pedestrians and bikes, and adopted the first pedestrian and bicycle full program with a project priority list. And I just recently met with that chair, and they will be bringing theirs forward, hopefully to integrate with what Pomegranate is doing. But other neighborhoods have also been very active in doing this to access safe routes for schools funding, and working with the District 81 in identifying which areas around their schools need enhanced pedestrian and bike safety programs. And very excited to see all of this come about, and hope it can happen very quickly and there are no more delays in getting the funding out to the neighborhood. Anyone else? All right, we'll take the roll call vote. Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President Biggs.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
And Council President Pro Tem is an aye. Motion passes 6-0. It's now time for our open forum, and we have 2 guests tonight. And so we want to invite you to speak for up to 3 minutes. And our first speaker tonight is Nicolette Ochiltree, and she is, I believe, with us on the phone. And needs to hit *3. Welcome, Nicolette.
On Friday, several hundred anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers marched from the Spokane Arena to the Spokane Regional Health District and then to City Hall. At the front of the pack, leading the march, was former Washington State House of Representative Matt Shea and former Spokane Valley City Councilman Caleb Collier. Many of those who spoke spewed medical misinformation about masks and vaccines. One woman claimed that the vaccines had killed over 200,000 people and that metal particles in the vaccine would be used to hook us up to the internet. The Dunning-Kruger effect is the silent pandemic underwriting our failure to keep these COVID outbreaks under control. These disinformation campaigns prevent us from making progress in our fight against COVID. Not only are these folks spreading misinformation, but it's highly likely that they're spreading COVID as well. It's hard not to see them as biological terrorists using germ warfare and psyops to wage war against our community. Many of these people, including most of the speakers, are the same people who show up outside Planned Parenthood, harassing and intimidating patients and staff. Our local healthcare facilities and agencies are under attack, and I firmly believe that their actions have moved beyond an innocent exercise of First Amendment rights. These folks are terrorizing our community, and such terrorism by the same organizations in other cities has already led to violence, as Kim Schmidt pointed out in her public testimony last week. Tomorrow night, many of these folks will be protesting in front of Planned Parenthood again in violation of the Spokane County Superior Court judge's injunction, an injunction which the Spokane Police Department falsely claims that they do not have the power to enforce. I'd like to say we could look to the Spokane Regional Health District to step in and address these massive public health crises, but we can't. Instead, they seem to be engaged in a disinformation campaign of their own, desperate to rewrite the history of Dr. Lutz's termination. How can we expect the community to trust the Spokane Regional Health District right now? It's no wonder that citizens are rejecting the expert opinions of scientists and doctors for the conspiracy theories of extremists. More needs to be done to repair public trust in our health officials. More needs to be done to address the biological and psychological warfare against our community. Thus far, these folks have not been held accountable for their actions, and until that changes, it's unlikely that we will be able to thwart the ravaging effects COVID and medical misinformation is having on our community. The hospitals are already full, and kids haven't even gone back to school yet. Please use your roles as city leaders to combat medical misinformation and speak out against the anti-masker and anti-vaxxer protesters who are making it harder for our community to heal. People listen when you speak. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nicolette. And next we have Anwar Peace. Anwar, you have 3 minutes. And if you haven't already, hit *3.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Anwar Peace, a 21-year police accountability activist. Sadly, I must report to the Council the fact that nationally, officer line-of-duty deaths and officer suicides have been the same for a multiple number of years. Case in point, officer suicides have been the status quo in police departments until this year, with 4 D.C. officer suicides since the D.C. insurrection happened, which has highlighted this issue. Sadly, I must report to the Council that domestic violence rates in law enforcement households is 6 times the national average. Case in point, in 2003, when Tacoma Police Chief David Brame killed his estranged wife, Crystal, then killing himself in front of their 2 kids at a grocery store, only a day after Crystal's alleged allegations of abuse were publicized in the media. After his death, other victims of Chief Brame came forward, which those victims said that Chief Brame had sexually abused them, as well as a rape allegation. Sadly, I must report to the Council that the Spokane Police Department has been hiring sexual predators to the force for years. Case in point, recently former Spokane police officer Nation Nash was arrested for his 2nd time for raping somebody while on duty, with 2 different victims. This last victim has disabilities. Plus, he was also part of SPD's spousal abuse investigation during this time. Sadly, I must report to the Council the fact that the Spokane Police Department has a historic rape culture within itself. Case in point, 2015 Spokane police officers' Halloween party where Sergeant Gordon Ennis raped a fellow female SPD officer. As well, in 2016, SPD officer Chris Conrath admitted to having a sexual encounter with a woman he met while responding to a domestic violence call, which is an abuse of power. Officer Conwright in 2020 was the subject of an IA investigation. That AI investigation said that he was sexually harassing a rookie SPD officer. None of these abuses of these officers were caught by the department's early warning system, which is based off of Seattle SPD's early warning system. Seattle PD is now spending $300,000 to revamp their early warning system. It is my belief that Spokane Police Department must do the same. Plus, it's time for the Spokane Police Department to initiate random psychological and drug testing for all police department personnel. I think a lot of the rudeness from officers, unprofessional behaviors, as well as police misconduct are a direct result of officers not dealing with their stresses properly. It doesn't take much or a big incident for an officer to develop psychological issues. All the little things that they go through after time can build up and manifest itself in disastrous ways. Instituting these random tests will show the public that the officer and family and the community want them to be safe while they patrol our streets.
Thank you,
for your
Anwar.
time.
Your time is up. I appreciate it, though. Appreciate you coming in and speaking to us today. Well, that brings us to the end of our Spokane City Council legislative session. We will be back next Monday at our regular time at 6 p.m. on August 30th. Thanks for being with us.